Well, the wash-up continues from the federal election, that extraordinary win for the Albanese government and the turmoil that's been left for the coalition and the Liberal Party particularly. Where do they go? What do they do in terms of the leadership and their plans? Let's bring in political editor Andrew Clennell. You've got some breaking news on this front. Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah, I have, Kieran, and Sky News can reveal a ticket's being discussed of Angus Taylor with Dan Tehan as his deputy and Zoe McKenzie, who's only just going to win her seat of Flinders, that moderate woman in that equation in terms of manager of opposition business. That is being discussed this morning. And how would you feel if you were Peter Dutton this morning? Donald Trump being blamed in some quarters for it being such a dire result for the Liberal Party or him even losing. We'll hear from Trudy McIntosh later that Donald Trump doesn't even know who the other guy was, according to these comments he's just made next to his chopper there. So what about that? Peter Dutton, not even known by Donald Trump as he congratulates Albanese and says he's a good bloke. But this is where the Liberal contest is heading. This is being tested. I spoke to you yesterday, Kieran, about a potential Taylor-Jane Hume ticket that I think Jane Hume was keen on, but her work-from-home policy seems to have put her out of the race. Susan Lee, questions about what support she'd get. She's keen. Dan Tehan also keen to run. But at this point, I believe the front runner is Angus Taylor in a possible ticket, if Liberals can agree on it, of Dan Tehan as deputy and Zoe McKenzie as manager of opposition business. Look, I saw during the campaign, when I did door knocks in Brisbane and Parramatta, the depth of feeling against Peter Dutton and the depth of feeling against the work-from-home policies. Let's have a listen to some of that.
I go 3 days to office, and then the rest of the 2 days I work.
Did you hear Peter Dutton wanted to make public servants go into the office, but he's now reversed that policy? Have you heard anything about that?
Yep, I've heard about it. They're asking people to come to office all 5 days. I'm totally against to that. That's what I can say, because I'm a mom. So pick up, drop off, and whenever they're sick, it works much better when I'm working from home. Otherwise, it's too much of a stress on parent. If they allow us to work from home, that's really convenient. Right. You can't force people to come all 5 days.
We want Anthony Albanese back. We don't want another Trump, so that's what we don't want Peter Dutton back.
Why do you liken Peter Dutton to Donald Trump?
His attitude. His attitude, and then the way he marching towards to, every time, he's trying to echo, what Trump says.
All right, so people really pointing the finger at Mike Turner of Freshwater, this polling company who was telling them, the leadership group, as late as Wednesday last week, that the coalition was going to win up to 72 seats, that they could win 10 seats, and Peter Dutton believed what he was hearing from Mike Turner. And so there's a fair bit of anger about the performance of Mike Turner. Now, we had this outfit YouGov on with you last week, Kieran, and they predicted Labor could win up to 84 seats and would probably win that amount. And I must admit, you and I raised our eyebrows. I called someone senior in the Labor Party who said that was garbage. They didn't expect to win that many, although they did expect to win probably majority. But it looks like Paul Smith was right. We had him on yesterday. And look, he explained that work from home was a massive aspect to all this. And I said, well, could it be about the multicultural vote as well? And he said no, because a seat like Hughes in the Sutherland Shire in Sydney isn't terribly multicultural. And that obviously swung Labor's way.
Seats like Banks and Hughes that were not on the Labor Party target list have come in. And it's been because that demographic of people looked at the coalition and said, you don't understand us at work. This is really important. Work from home was a real killer for the coalition. They really need to understand one thing out of this election.
So that issue was the killer?
Oh, it just started to slide down. In the outer suburban? Because, look, people in outer suburban Sydney are really having to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. They are really struggling, and one of the things that's helped them is work from home, because a lot of people can juggle things, pick up things from school, do other things. And then once you start to look at somebody and you go, what else is a risk to me? They saw other things in the campaign. They kind of didn't like the connection with Trump.
Work from home policy never went to shadow cabinet. It was tightly held before it was announced by Jane Hume. It's been a bit of a wrecking ball for her in terms of the leadership contest, I feel. And David Littleproud, Nationals leader, had him on yesterday and he admitted that he hadn't been properly consulted before it was announced. How significant was the work from home policy? Because it was after that there was something of a swing against the coalition.
Yeah, I think that we've got to be honest, that wasn't handled well. But, I mean, Peter had the courage to say we got it wrong.
Were you consulted? Because I heard it didn't go through shadow cabinet.
Yeah, well, I think basically it was weaponised to the extent...
No, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you this again. Were you consulted before that work from home policy was announced by Jane Hume?
No, it was talked broadly, but the extent and how far it went was another matter. But, I mean, in terms of where Jane went, I think in principle there was a lot of support for what Jane was doing.
Look, people are pinning some of the fault of this policy and the campaign on Angus Taylor as well, Kieran, but one Liberal source has said to me that he wouldn't even be taking it on with a view to becoming PM. He would be taking it on with a view to rebuilding the Liberal Party, which is quite an extraordinary admission, isn't it? Just repeating that news, Kieran. One ticket being explored, don't know if it'll work with the colleagues at the moment, is Angus Taylor, Dan Tehan, Zoe McKenzie, Manager of Opposition Business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That does. You've got to elevate Zoe McKenzie. I'd have her in as shadow treasurer as well. She's an outstanding performer, and they've got to pull the chessboard and flip it. They've got to flip it, and whoever becomes opposition leader now is not going to be Prime Minister, are they, Andrew? Because it's probably minimum 6 years away. So it's the rebuilding phase, and I think they've got to get some of those next generation people in there, Andrew.
I think that's right, and I think it's intriguing. I've never heard this before. It's not from Angus Taylor's mouth, but someone who's advocating for him telling me that he knows deep down at 59 he probably won't be Prime Minister, but he will take the job on to rebuild the party. And that leaves people like Andrew Hastie in the wings, and even Zoe McKenzie. I guess they're young enough that they can look at it down the track.
Absolutely. Yep, 100%. Andrew, thanks for that breaking news.